Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I was actually still at work.
Okay, so good evening, everybody, and my name is Ernest. I am the president of Patterson Park Neighborhood Association. Thank you all for coming. I know this is a topic of great interest to everybody. So just talk real quickly about how this meeting is going to go. The way we arranged this was that we asked for questions from the neighbors through email and through social media, and we took all of them, combined the ones that were kind of asking the same things, and we gave that list to DPW, because this is not supposed to be an ambush meeting where we wanted them to be able to have the questions ahead of time, and so that they could give us the very best answers, the most information that they can. I will also say that, I think what we all believe in is that we want a clean neighborhood. And so it would be very easy to do the typical Baltimore thing where everybody just yells and complains. But what we really want to do, what I'm really hoping we get to do, is to set an action plan, come up with some solutions that we can come up with together moving forward. And hopefully this is going to be a little bit of an education for all of us. So with that being said, I'm going to get right into it. I will ask our guest to introduce herself and let's do a little introduction, and then we will get started with the questions from the community. There will be a little bit of time at the end for that we will take questions if there's something that you think we haven't covered. So please go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Toya Sykes. I am the Chief of Administration for the Bureau of Solid Waste. I presently oversee a few of our operations, which consist of the landfill, our transfer stations, convenience centers, our Office of Administration operation for waste diversion. And I assist all of our other operational chiefs with writing standard operating procedures, policies, obtaining grant funding, budgeting, things like that.
And I understand from Larry that some of your colleagues are also on their way here.
Yes, so we have the Chief of Marine Operations. His name is Michael Lucas. He should probably be pulling up in a second now. He actually oversees marine operations, but he's kind of like our floater chief. So he fills in for other chiefs when they're out in their absence and so on.
You do that on purpose. You said he is the Marine chief and he's your floater.
See what I did there, right?
Yeah.
But he oversees all of our dumpster collections, downtown business district cleanup, corner cans, corner can collections for all of the main thoroughfares down in Washington. We call it the casino crew. Also cleans up for our HABC public housing communities for their dumpster collections. We clean the harbor. We have there are two one-man crews who actually drive the skimmers and clean up the harbor trash along with the trash wheel.
Okay. So I'm going to get right into the questions. I'm going to try to get through as many as possible. We do have pretty much a hard stop at 7:30 because the library closes at 8 and we just need time to clean up everything and physically get out of the building. But if we don't get to all the questions, I'm sure that we'll figure out a way to send them to you so that we can get answers and then spread them to the community. But I'm going to go right off. So I think the number one question that everybody is always asking is, when are we going to return to weekly recycling? Now, the last time DPW was here, I don't remember if it was you or if it was Chief Winkler who said this, but you explained that the issue was not really budget, but staffing. So can you just characterize a little bit, what have been your challenges in maintaining adequate staffing?
So we have several variables that actually contribute to that. Number one, we're short-staffed, so we have an aging workforce. Most of our folks have been around 4 years, over 20 years, 18 to 20 years to be exact. We have people who are retiring, people who fall ill, they're out on A-time or on sick leave. There's no duration of time. We can't hold them to the time period that they're out. Another variable that contributes to that is wages, obviously. The industry wide, right, has been faced with the wages that CDL drivers have to pay.
Gonna move the neck a little closer to you.
Sure. So it's not just a Baltimore City issue, it's an industry-wide issue. It's very difficult to find CDL drivers for the city because our wages are based on the wage assessment that's done across the board. So we offer what is viewed to be competitive. However, when we have private industries out here who pay just a few dollars more, obviously people go where the money is. In regards to laborers and solid waste workers, seasonal maintenance aides or community aides, our wages for them are pretty, pretty good. So it's not a problem with the actual laborers, although turnover sometimes contributes to retention when it comes to laborers and solid waste workers.
Another question that we had was, when will the trash cans be available again? So I think what they mean is if I need to get a green trash can, how am I going to get that? And when are they going to be available?
So the trash cans, we ordered 13,600 additional trash cans. We've already given out the first delivery of 3,600 trash cans. There was a backlog, a very, very long backlog of individuals who requested a replacement trash can. The next round of trash cans will be delivered as early as the 11th of this week. We don't know how many we'll get. We just know that the balance is 10,000 of them. And they'll be delivered between the 11th and 12th. And what we have been doing is just going down the list and delivering them to the individuals who have actually already requested them. To request a replacement can, or if they can, you have to call 311 to be put on the list. They'll give you a confirmation number. That confirmation number is sent to us, and that's how we track them.
Okay. So let's talk about dumping. It's also very much in the forefront of the community's mind. So from your perspective, what do you think is the cause of illegal dumping? And who's behind it, and what do you think we can do to address it, and what can we do to help?
So first of all, I want to say that the illegal dumping is not a DPW issue. It is actually a housing issue. And I don't think that a lot of people understand that HCD, code enforcement, and the illegal dumping special investigations unit is the actual agency who actually heads that part of the illegal dumping. Housing Community Development, the agency has a special investigations unit specifically to investigate illegal dumping, number one. When someone witnesses illegal dumping, or if they want to report it, they should call 311, report the dumping. And what happens is that SR goes directly to housing. The housing inspector, who falls under the special investigations operation, then goes out. They do an investigation. They go through the trash. They look at the location where the dumping is taking place. It's going to be either deemed a hotspot location, or they'll add it as another illegal dumping location to a very, long list of locations that they already monitor. Some of those locations they can put cameras in. I know that they were having an issue ordering cameras because manufacturers were just short on equipment. But once they concluded the actual investigation, it's very informative to know that DPW is a responding agency. So then the cleaning work order is created for us to then respond to clean up the illegal dumping. That's how DPW becomes involved with the illegal dumping. Okay. In regards to who's behind it and why it happens, obviously that's a no-brainer. People come in the city all the time, they're dumping, or people who live in the city who are just not very well informed about trash disposal, trash days, trash collection, what is recycled, what's not recycled, contaminated recycling. You would be surprised at the amount of people who actually use their recycling can as a trash can, because they don't really understand what recycling is. And then the list of items that are recyclable have changed over the last 10 years. So some things are not recyclable, that were originally viewed as being a recyclable material. And when we come around to do collection for recycling and the recycling is contaminated, usually it's an issue because people complain that we're not taking it, but we can't take it because the contaminated trash and the recycling don't go to the same place. So we can't mix it. But you can call 311 and ask for it to be collected. So they'll come back around and collect.
Okay. I think I saw in the chat that we had a question coming up related to that, but I think we might want to just ask right now.
Yeah, Sharon was asking if cameras are available, basically how is it decided where they go, and if there's a hotspot that's happening near somebody's property or in this neighborhood, can we report it, and can we get a process started to get a camera in that location?
So that would be a question for housing,
Okay.
for the special investigations unit. The chief of that unit, his name is David McGinnis, and that's McGinnis. Yeah. You can call 311 and request that a location be investigated. It is at their discretion how it's determined whether or not a camera can be installed in a location. They actually monitor the locations a little while before they actually decide to place a camera up, and they do have mobile cameras that they use to monitor locations. So, but that would be an answer that he can better provide.
Okay,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
so that is actually something that I did not know about, and I'm just gonna repeat it again because I saw some people asking about it on the chat. That you were saying illegal dumping is housing. Some people would actually think that it's DPW, but it's actually housing. DPW responds once housing has done their investigation. Is that correct? So DPW is physically picking things up, but the investigation to try to figure out who's dumping, that is done by housing and community development.
That is correct. Yes. Chief Lucas.
Hello.
So that could be a good explanation for a lot of people have a question about why DPW picks up at this house and not the house 4 doors down, or not in the alley when they show up, because they're working based on a ticket from housing. And so that ticket could be now, and the next one could be 6 months down the road, depending on how.
It definitely shouldn't take 6 months, that's for sure.
You know what I mean?
Another thing is that, people will call in, and, they'll make a complaint and then they get their confirmation number. And then it gets closed out. And that's not the end of it, though. It gets closed out because housing has done their due diligence as far as the investigation piece. So now, once they've done that, they've already requested the work order for DPW to come out and do the cleaning. That's how that works. So it's not that they're just arbitrarily closing out the actual complaint. It gets closed out so that it can then, get processed to the next step, so that we can step in and assist where we do the work.
Okay. I realize you are not housing, but neighbors are interested to know, is there anything that we can do that you think might be helpful? I'm just gonna leave it at that. Do you have any suggestions for things we can do besides just filing 311?
I would recommend that, when someone sees illegal dumping, they immediately call 311. And follow on with HCD. We are all busy. All of the agencies are busy. Sometimes they get behind, but just giving them a call to say, hey, I called in this complaint. Here's my confirmation number. Can you escalate this to see if someone can go out and take a look at it? If it's something that has been, dumping it, it's been there for weeks, you can also feel free to call in a 311 request to have DPW come out and clean it up. It's not that we won't clean it up. We just like to make sure it goes through the proper chain So that if it's a recurring issue and with illegal dumping, it's being monitored.
All right, I'm gonna move on to the next question. So this is about street sweeping. Some neighbors have reported that street sweeping has been a little inconsistent. And they also, this may be, now that I think of it, maybe something that is a different department, but there have been reports of, for example, people having to move their car from one side to the other side of the street. And then parking enforcement comes through, starts giving out tickets, but then street sweepers do not come through. And that agitates the neighbors a little bit. So can you explain to us a little bit how street sweeping works? Have there been challenges? Is this related to the staffing issue as well?
So we don't really have any internal issues with street sweeping. Most of the challenges that we see are that people are parking in places where they shouldn't park on days when they're street sweeping, number one. They're ticketed and then they won't move their car. There has to be at least 3 car spaces worth of space for a street sweeper to actually get in and effectively clean the area where they're supposed to. So let's say you have a whole block, you have 2 people who are still parked there knowing that street sweeping is coming, they can only clean but so much of that space. In regards to ticketing, I can't really speak on what parking does when it comes to citing people for, not moving their cars. That's what they do. There should be signs posted that say your street sweeping day is Wednesday or Thursday of every other week. So it's very, very clear when street sweeping is supposed to occur. If there are cars parked there, the street sweeper may pass and come back. They will loop around, but if they're not moved, there's nothing that we can do. Our street sweepers have been, functioning up. We've had a few occasions where there was a call for inclement weather, maybe it's icy. We pull the sweepers off the street when the temperature goes below a certain degree because the water freezes and we can't afford to have that happening because then it destroys the equipment. And then we would really have a problem because there wouldn't be any sweepers on the street. So as far as us, having faced the great challenges, I would dispel that. That's not the case. It has to just be a little bit more cooperation with community and the scholars.
Okay, but I think one thing I want to emphasize from your answer is that DPW is not parking enforcement. That is a separate agency.
That is a separate agency.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
DPW is not part. We do not cite people for parking at all.
Okay, and there isn't any sort of like a street sweeper, a machine may come by and see that there are cars parked where they shouldn't be. Is there a mechanism to report that to enforcement so that they go out and start giving tickets or?
No, we don't, because they come out, they know which days, they know which days street sweeping is supposed to take place, and so they're gonna come around and they're gonna look. They're very well aware, they have parking sergeants, lieutenants, and enforcement officers who are assigned to specific districts and specific streets. So that's what they do.
Okay,
So just really quick, Ernest, there's a bunch of comments happening about this specific issue, but specifically on my street and my neighbors also on here, last 2 weeks, everybody's out of the way, street sweeper never came. Do we report that or?
So I
Like, we
can
don't-
tell you the last 2 weeks, we've had a call for inclement weather 2 weeks in a row. When the temperature is at a specific degree, I can tell you for those last 2 weeks, we did not, but we actually, one day we called the sweepers off the street. So I don't know which day it was, but you can always just, I think you guys have my contact information. You can always send me an email to follow up with me about it, and I can get you an answer on what was going on with that route on that specific day.
PPNA does have your contact information. I don't know if you want us to give that out to the rest of the neighbors, but I have your information.
I would say, if you all could keep it a little organized so that I'm not getting inundated with emails, because I am leaving work to get here at this time because I had 214 emails to go for today. Okay, so it would just help if it's one centralized email like this one. This one was excellent. I really appreciated this because I'm pretty sure you all did a great deal of work to create this collective of questions. And we were able to go down the list and just get the answers.
Okay. Was there anything else, Lindsay?
I'm just, there are a bunch of comments about it,
Okay.
just. Sorry, I'm trying to.
Okay, why don't I move on to?
Yeah, we'll
our
have to
next-
come back
Yeah.
to it.
So. Our next question has to do with what the workers are doing when they go to each block and they're picking up the trash. And the background for this is that, you know, block by block, the procedure is different. For some of them, you're going down an alleyway. For some of them, the trash cans are staged at the end of the street, maybe because physically the truck cannot actually get down there. In some places, the cans actually are left out in front of the houses. So our question is, how do the workers know what they're supposed to be doing at each block? Do they have a diagram that they keep with them, or what is the procedure?
Yeah, so they do not have a diagram or a map that they carry around with them. The individuals are assigned routes daily. Most of the time, the same folks run the same routes. That's how they become familiar with the routes, especially the drivers. Now, do we have some instances where we have solid waste workers who are the individuals who ride the back of the trash truck? Maybe different. Someone calls out, someone steps in, or we have to reassign someone. But for the most part, they're familiar with the routes. If it's a front pickup or if it's rear pickup, obviously our trucks are huge. And over here, you have a lot of small alleys, so most of the time, the cans may be staged. Some of the communities even stage them for the guys because it's easier for them to get the trash picked up. So it just depends on, you know, what the orientation of the community looks like.
Okay. So, yes.
And about that,
there
I'm
are-
sorry, I want to add something to that.
Sure, go ahead.
In addition to that, we do, we have a route where, vendor that we are working with to help create, more effective ways for us to, I guess, navigate the neighborhoods when it comes to collections. And when we say that, we mean, routing time, how long it takes for us to, complete the routes. If there are easier ways for us to pick them up, it gives them indications on whether it's front or rear, pickup. Some instances you have communities that have cul-de-sacs, so things like that. It's new.
I'm just gonna follow up on that. So yes, there are definitely some areas where the neighbors will stage all the trash cans in a particular place. From everything I know, they're always happy to do that. I guess the question is, how do they know what they should be doing? Because I think there have been instances of confusion because you know, there may be a group of trash cans at the end of the street, so everybody assumes, oh, I'm supposed to put them down there, when that actually has not been what they've done. You know, what would you suggest is the best way for neighbors to communicate with DPW and the workers, that we know the best, most effective way to place the trash
You can
cans?
send me an email. I mean, we can get clear confirmation for you whether or not the route that your home is on is front or rear.
Okay.
And we talk to our staff. Does it work for them to have the community put the cans at one corner because the truck can't bend the corner? And you can see we have lots of bike lanes going up. Our trucks are huge, so it's not easy for them to navigate this new infrastructure and layout. So it's easier sometimes, although we don't really encourage it for the cans to be staged, because then what happens is that folks don't come out and get their cans. And then they're floating in the middle of the streets and they're cracked up and they get ran over. So I would say, and I would highly recommend, stick to whatever the route requires. If it's front pickup, put your can out on the front. They'll pick it up in the front. If it's rear pickup, put your can out at the rear. They will pick it up at the rear. If anything else needs to, change with that, we can confirm it with our chief over in routine services and talk to our drivers and crews to see what's going on those routes, because they'll tell us.
Okay, so I would suggest, just for our neighbors, I know that we have a lot of blocks where there are rental properties, so you sometimes have people come in. This is not a question for you, chief, but for everybody else to know, you often have renters come in and they may not be familiar with exactly what are they supposed to do with their trash cans. So it's if you're aware of this, and I know sometimes I don't even know when a new person moves in on my block or when a new renter comes in, but when when you're aware of that, it is helpful to let them know, hey, on this block, this is your pickup day, and move your trash can out over here on that day, or move it over there. It's just going to be helpful to do that, and that'll make, our workers' lives a little bit easier as well. Okay, and from this, okay, here we go. Okay, next one. This will probably be short, but what should we do in the event of a water main break? Is there an emergency number?
311,
Okay,
call 311. I don't work for the water department. The most I can tell you is that you probably should call 311, inform 311 if they're not already aware, because we have alarms on most of those systems, so they're informed almost immediately if there's a water main break. It's just a matter of getting a crew together to get them out there to assess it and then getting it fixed. Being able to access the shut off valve and all that good stuff, but I would definitely call 311, number one, and let them know that, we're just the water main break, and give them the exact location and any cross streets that may be there.
our next question has to do with a citizen advisory board. So we've heard that there is a citizen advisory board that takes feedback from members of the public. I myself was actually not aware of this, but can you tell us what about this board and how we?
I do not head the Citizen Advisory Board. It's actually led by Yolanda.
She will be here.
Yeah, she's gonna be here, so can we come back to that question?
Sir, okay. Now, so the next question is, we were just talking about how to tell our residents about their responsibilities. And we asked you, is there material that you can give us to pass out? And in particular, is there some Spanish language material? Now, those of us in the room have been handed a bunch of material. But I'm going to invite you to go ahead and tell us about what we have here and where we can get it.
So we can send you an electronic copy of this too, so that
Yes.
everyone in the chat can be privileged to have it as well. But this is just a little sanitation guide. It kind of goes over, a plethora of things regarding bulk trash, tenant responsibilities, recycling, recycling collections, what type of containers you can use, trash days, how you can find out what your trash day or your recycling day is. Items that are recyclable, what you should be disposing of in your recycling cans. And what you should not be disposing of. That's pretty much it. It comes in English and Spanish. It gives you a number to dial when you need additional information. And it also gives you the DPW website, which this information can be found on there as well.
Okay, so your website in general, I believe it is publicworks.baltimorecity.gov.
That is correct.
Okay, and that's where they can find handouts such as what you've just given us here.
Yes.
Okay, and we will also be I actually have not checked to see whether our email system allows us to do an attachment when we send out a mass email, but we'll try it.
Okay.
And if you could send that to us, we would appreciate it. We would definitely be making sure to disseminate that
And should we just send it to your attention?
to me, President.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I
can
have
take care
your
of that.
contact information.
Great, thank you very much. Okay. Our next question is about the small haulers program. First of all, could you tell us a little bit about the small haulers program? Because I think a lot of people may not be aware of it.
So the small haulers program is simply for small haulers who dump at our convenience centers and our landfill and transfer station. They're required to register as a small hauler. There's a flat fee of $35. I'm sorry, I think it's $35. I could be wrong. Could be a little more or less, but I don't think it's more than 35. What that does is it allows us to create a catalog of small haulers throughout the city who come and they dump at those locations, transfer stations, convenience centers, and landfill. And it allows them to dump for that flat fee. Basically, We have a lot of small haulers that contribute to cleaning up lots of communities. That's how we make their money. They go around, they do odd jobs, and then they bring their items to transfer station, landfills, or community centers.
I see. So the idea is that there are people who, maybe they own a truck. And so they essentially hire themselves out to go out to sites and be available to take debris and items and haul them out. And so this is a program where they can register to, if I'm understanding, they can register to,
They get a small haulers, I guess you could say some license.
license. Okay.
Yeah, it lasts for, it's good for about a year, and then they have to re-register, once a year.
Okay. So on a related note, this information may be out of date, but at one point, the station at Quarantine Road did not accept electronic payments. Do you know if it does?
Quarantine Road landfill right now, we are under construction in regards to updating our payment system. We do have an electronic payment system in place, but it's presently being updated. We're getting new software, we're having the scales repaired presently. I think the scales at the transfer station have already been repaired as of last week. So it's in a kind of like a work in progress stage, but we will be having an up-to-date electronic payment system in place within the next 90 days.
Okay. So then we have a question about 311 in general, and I think this is a time to sort of pull back, go behind the scenes of the system a little bit, because I think people don't understand exactly how 311 works. You know, that 311 is their own group of people, and then they forward service requests onto the relevant agencies, as I understand it. But I think that the reason so many people are asking about 311 is they put in a 311 service request, and then within a couple of days, they check their number again, and it just says like, you know, this has been addressed or this has been forwarded, but they have not physically seen any action take place yet. I would guess because maybe DPW has just now received that service request and hasn't physically been able to go out and do anything yet. But can you just take us a little bit behind the scenes when someone makes a 311 call? How is that processed, and how does it get routed over to DPW if that's, you know, a call that he's saying?
So I'm gonna talk specifically about service requests that correlate with DPW services.
Okay.
311 is its own agency. DPW does not oversee the work of 311. So when you call 311, you are immediately connected to a service operator who fields your call, takes down the information. They're going to ask you again the question so that they can try to discern which agency would be the responding agency or the initial responding agency. So if you're calling about a dirty alley specifically, the confirmation number is given to the constituent. That request is then sent over to special services dirty alley. What happens is that service request is printed out and it is given to approve. If it's something that may be of a unique nature, like it's a dirty alley and there's grass growing in the alley, the trash truck can't get through, we'll send a supervisor out there to assess what the situation is, because it may require more than one operation to respond. So you might have street alleys under special services, and then you may have property management who has to cut the grass in the alley. That is negating a truck or a piece of equipment to be able to get through to do the cleaning. Once that work order is closed out, or once the work has been completed, the service request is then closed out on our end in our system. And it notifies Salesforce, which is the 311 system, that the work has been completed.
I think what might have been happening, as you say, 311 is not your agency, so you do not necessarily know what is going on in their system. But it seems to me that based on some of the 311 requests that I've reviewed, and you do not have to answer this if you don't have any information, but it seems to me that what happens is sometimes a request goes in and through their process, the 311 folks are then referring it to whoever needs to see it. And that may be DPW, it may be housing, it may be some other agency. And they sometimes seem to regard it as closed as soon as they have sent it on to whatever agency needs to see it.
So let's digress for a second.
Okay,
If you are calling in a complaint or a service request, and it's for, let's say, trash dumped on a vacant lot, all right, it's gonna go over to housing, number one. The inspector is gonna go out. They're gonna take a picture. They're gonna come back to the office. They're gonna put the picture in their notes in the system that we share. It's called the CHIP system, right?
okay,
Once they do that, they have to actually click a module in there that says request work order, right? But this is the thing, there has to be an open notice. This is only for vacant lots and vacant properties. There has to be an open vacant building notice in the system on that property in order for DPW to clean it. So let's say it's a vacant lot. It doesn't have a vacant building notice on it at all. The inspector goes back to the office, they do a little bit of research on who the owner is. They issue a notice. The notice has to be posted at the property, literally. They have to print the notice out, take it out to the vacant lot. They don't post it necessarily, but they'll put it on the grass or they'll show it on their whiteboard where they're posting it. The service level agreement requires that that has to be in the system 10 days before DPW can go out and clean the property.
okay,
So those might be some of the things where you all think that there's just a lag in service, but there are legal ramifications that require housing to operate under the guidelines that they operate prior to us being able to abate a work order, right?
Yeah, I think there's a missing piece of transparency where it closes in the 311 system and that's what we see. And then there's so much other stuff that
Right.
happens and we see closed and that's all we get. We
Yeah.
get no other information until it maybe happens sometime down the line. And most people outside of this group of people that are either finding out about it for the first time or know this have no idea. So they see it closed and they assume that it's been closed. So I don't know if there's a way on that, like, and I think that was one of the reasons we're asking about the community advisory board is to change some of those things. So like, if it says pending, we know it's been issued to the agency it's supposed to go to, and you know, you have a pending request at least, not that it's just closed and lost forever, because that's how it feels from this end.
So CHIP is not, we don't regulate that system. Unfortunately, we share this system with housing. It's a housing software. However, what I think would, and this is just my suggestion. There are a few things that you all can do to be a little proactive in finding out what the status is of a work order. Number one, you can become familiar with whom your district inspector is, who the district inspector is, who the district superintendent is, and then who the district assistant superintendent is. Because what that allows you to do is have an open line of communication so someone can actually check it for you. Now, let's go back to that work order. There are service level agreements for each different type of work order. If you're calling in a cleaning work order for a vacant property or a vacant lot, the SLA for those types of cleaning requests is 30 days. And it's 30 days because the city of Baltimore has over 16,000 vacant lots and properties. We have 8 crews that work the entire city. There's no way we would be able to respond to every service request that comes in on a daily basis in 24 hours. It just doesn't work that way. The service level agreement allows us to make sure that the property is inspected, number one, by housing, and that a work order is issued in the system, and then transferred over to us. There are cases where those work orders are escalated. if, it could be any amount of circumstances. But just remember that there's a service level agreement that comes with each different type of work order. So service level agreement for street alley cleanings is 30, is it 30 days? 14 days.
For,
Street down.
housing.
14 days, so it's different, you know, and what I would do is I would highly recommend that you all become very familiar and personable with your housing inspectors. Okay? And especially the inspectors who do the inspections on multifamily dwellings, so any apartment buildings that you have in your communities, want to make sure you get connected with them too.
Okay. In the time we have left, I would bet I've not been keeping track of every single question that has come up on the chat. I did see somebody asking, is the chat going to be saved? Yes, it is. So this meeting gets recorded as a video, and then the way Zoom works is it also sends me a text document with the text of everything in the chat. But that being said, I think we have time for maybe 2 or 3 questions. Is that a raised hand?
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead.
can you give us information on how we can get more trash bins that are out in the community? Like, for example, I live on Baltimore Street and there's a lot of convenience stores around that area. And there's like 1 trash can for like 5 blocks. And so is there a process by which we can request to have more so that people aren't coming out of convenience stores and just throwing their trash in front of our houses?
Are you talking about corner cans?
Yep. Now we can get you involved. Happy to make your question.
Public corner cans right now are mainly used on gateways and bus stops. If you, right now, we don't have the resources to put them in neighborhoods and address them.
Okay.
So if we put them out there, for one thing, they draw illegal dumping. When people come out the house, they take the trash and start to put it in their own trash can. They go put it on the corner because they expect us to constantly dump these cans daily, but we don't have the resources to go into the neighborhoods and dump public corner cans on a constant basis. So for your question, not right now.
Just to follow up with that, because there was a question earlier in the chat about the ones that do exist, how often or what the schedule is for them being emptied.
It should be daily on the gateways and main thoroughfares.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Are water bills part of public works or?
Water bills are public works, but it's under the Department of Water and Wastewater.
Well, I'll ask my
Which is-
question anyways, if a resident, for instance, me is seeing a increase in water usage. And our water meters are, electronic, how can somebody let the resident know before a high bill goes through? Maybe the resident can prevent a problem from occurring before it becomes a bigger problem.
I would highly recommend, number one, that you call 311 and make a complaint, ask if they can come out and take a look at your meter. Could be something off with the meter, could be something going on down in the water well. I don't know exactly because I don't work under the water house responsibility, but I would start the investigation. Now, me as just a resident, I can tell you that you want to pay attention to what's going on the inside of your house as well.
Sure.
Your toilets are running, if you see a drippy faucet, if you look at your water heater and you see that it's leaking or something is going on, those are things that you need to address immediately. And then, kind of monitor your water bill to see if that has any impact on it, but definitely call 311.
But the problem is the water bill doesn't come for another month. So you could have a problem for an entire month without knowing if there's a spilled drip from a faucet. We're paying management fees for our water bills, mandatory management fee. we're not getting anything for that though.
So, and I hate that I don't have an answer for you because I don't work for the water department. I can't even begin to tell you what the breakdown of the bills and the fees look like because I just don't know. And I apologize for that. I think it will probably be a good idea to have the water department come back and have this discussion. Yeah, Dr. Nunley can,
Bring them to another meeting.
yeah, so that would be helpful for you.
We do that.
Okay, and I apologize. I'm sorry, I don't
Thank
have that information for
Thank
you.
you. You know, I'll help you about that.
I think we can take a couple more questions, and for those of you who are joining us online, just use the raise hand function on Zoom
In a
and
meeting.
we'll try to get to you. We have another question over here.
I know that it's like very recently that we've even been able to get people to be able to separate compost, recycling and trash, and even that's a pipe dream sometimes. But is there any room in city initiative for like a public awareness on like eco bricking? Or is that something that? we could bring
So we have the
forefront?
Office of Waste Diversion. We just recently onboarded the chief for zero waste for the Office of Waste Diversion. We are working on a lot of different initiatives when it comes to composting, food scrapping, recycling, white. This is a whole bunch that we're trying to get a nice finalized list of things that we want to start on. We are applying for some funding, grant funding that would allow us to have workshops and create educational materials. I think that probably would be along the lines of what you're asking for. I can't say it's specifically going to be for eco bricking, but I'd be happy to take that back to Sophia Hussein, who is the chief of waste diversion, and see if she can, get you some information on it, or if that fits into the scope of what we are looking at doing.
Okay, that would
Okay.
be really helpful.
All right, so I'll get your information before we leave.
And I will say that in our neighborhood, we do have community composting. We were able to do that because of a grant. So the place to drop that off is. Does anybody remember exactly what street it is? It's near the northeast corner. Streeter?
Yes.
Okay,
East Baltimore and Springfield?
yeah. So there are a couple of bins there and they get picked up every week. I have to say that I do not personally use it because I have my own compost bin, but we have literally diverted and composted tons and tons of material over the past year. And it's something that we're very proud of and has been working very well. So that is something that PPNA at least is doing. So I will move on, and we have some people on the Zoom. So the first I see here is Sharon. Go ahead, Sharon. I don't know if you're trying to talk right now, Sharon, but we can't hear you. Check to make sure.
I mean,
Oh, there you are, Sharon.
We heard you just now.
I'm not sure what's happening, but I heard a lot, I know one of her items is community activities that are supposed to be planned for awareness and education around trash, recycling, etc.
Okay.
And if we can do one in this neighborhood.
Absolutely. So just to let you know that we've obtained all of the community associations. There's a list that the Office of Planning keeps. Also, Yolanda has the same list, and it's already been given to Chief Hussein. She will be reaching out to you all to schedule some workshops, some educational engagement opportunities for the community, and not just this one, but all the ones that are on the list. We have some upcoming initiatives that we're trying to bring the community associations into the fold for composting and food scrapping, food demonstrations, just to get some kind of input on what it is that you all like to see in the information that will be distributed. Okay.
And let me
Now,
also.
just to let you know, she just started. She literally just started in November, so give her some room to breathe. And she'll be in contact. Don't call me saying, you told her she was gonna be coming out. Yeah, so you probably won't see her. She's probably not gonna peek her head out until I would say late spring, early summer, okay?
Let me also give a plug for our organization, PPNA. Now, a lot of people ask, oh, PPNA, President Ernest, can we do this activity? Can we do that activity? And my answer is always, yes, I would love to. Let's talk, let's plan this. I think the thing that a lot of people don't understand about PPNA is that because we're an all volunteer organization, our resources are really just all of you all. So if you want to do something, we're here to facilitate that. We have the contacts, we have resources in terms of we may have money for you. If you want to do a cleanup in your block or something like that, we have more bags and like, I don't know what the trash picker up things with the
Pickers.
cloth and pickers, and gloves and all kinds of things that we can make available for you. I will personally come out and probably help with the cleanup if you want to do that. But PPNA is not the government, which means we can't enforce things. And number two, our human resources is really all of you all. So we're here to help, but we also need, if you want to do something, we also need you to step up and provide a little bit of that help too. We have a board that is very dedicated to service to all of you all, but it is not. I think some people believe that PPNA, you can send a request to PPNA and then you're done, and we will take care of it. And the truth is, although I wish we could do that, we really cannot. We need you to step up and organize events and activities as well. Actually, let me just take, we can take two more questions. I think I saw Cheryl. Ms. Cheryl, go ahead.
Thank you, Ernest. I put this in the chat, but I just want to speak about the guys that pick up the recycling. We have a lot of parking pads on Potomac and Decker, and they often just leave those cans in the middle of the alley, strewn all over the place. And whenever you go to drive out, you have to move it back. I've even called out and asked them, can you just please put them back in the yard? They take them out of the yard and leave them in the alley. Who should I speak to address that?
You can speak to me. You can get my contact information from Ernest and just send me an email and I will follow up with you directly once I speak to my chief over there.
Okay, thank you. And I don't know if that happens with any place else, anybody else's block, let me know so we can just put it all in one complaint. But it constantly happens to us on Potomac.
Okay, Ms. Cheryl, I will send you Chief Sykes contact information. Okay, you're going to be our last question for today.
I wanted to know at the beginning, you mentioned challenges with staffing, recruiting and wages and all those things. And to connect a little bit to what Ernest was saying, yeah, there's a lot that we might be able to do as a community, but I think my brain is going to sort of the more systemic things that citywide will impact positively everybody. What is it that you see as sort of a more systemic solution? When you say staffing and wages, it makes me think of your budget. So would that really be something that would improve things for everybody? And who do we as a citizen go advocate to? Is it our city council? Is it the mayor? Who do we go talk to and say hey, you need to support your BPW department there?
So we have these budget hearings every year. We have a budget hearing twice a year, every quarter, something like that. Very rarely do I see citizens show up to advocate for DPW. DPW, solid waste and wastewater, is the largest essential service agency provided in our city. Although that water responsibility house, they operate off of utility funding. Solid waste operates off of general funding, right? Which means the funding is pretty much the same every year. So systemically, it doesn't match, right? And so in order for us to grow in capacity, in service, sustainability efforts, and all of those things, having a partnership with the communities in which we serve would be greatly appreciated to advocate on our behalf. It would allow us to expound on being able to purchase, more equipment, different equipment, do feasibility studies that would give us an opportunity to take a foster look at other jurisdictions and metropolitan cities that are comparable to the services that we provide here in our city, right? So when you're talking, it's not just about the budget, it's about processes, it's about being innovative. It's also about being able to be ambidextrous in the use of our staff and equipment. I could probably go on and on about this topic, but that's basically what
How
it
do
is.
we know when the hearings are, or how can we support?
They're always posted. They're
Um,
always
on-
posted on the DPW website, on the Baltimore City, what is that, the comptroller's website, the city council website.
Will they go out in an email if you're signed up for something?
You can sign, if I'm not mistaken, you can sign up. for it.
Yeah, so there's two things I'll say about that. One, right now, the mayor's office, or like under the administration, BBMR, which is budget agency, has this really cool tool. that they're-
For a second, could you just introduce yourself? to
Oh,
who don't
yeah,
know?
sure. Sorry. Hi, I'm Ethan. I'll take my mask off too. I'm from Councilman Z Cohen's office. So the Brandon Scott's administration is Mayor Scott is trying to be more open and transparent this year with budgeting and about the community more. Right now, there's a tool on the website called Balance the Budget, where you can go in and provide your input as to what things should receive more budget, what things should receive less budget. So I'd highly recommend folks do that. I can send a link to Ernest. And then there are taxpayer nights, which are about the opportunity to provide input on the budget. I believe those are either in late May or early June. There's two, one for the Board of Estimates and one for the City Council. Unfortunately, the public doesn't actually testify at budget hearings, only the council members do, but you can absolutely send your questions to our office, and Councilmember Cohen will try to ask as many as he can and compile the themes that we're hearing. What would be great to hear from folks more about what they would like to see in the budget. This is also the first year that the council has the opportunity not only to cut budget from departments, but actually reallocate more money to the departments. So that's really going to give city council a lot more oversight. A lot more oversight over the budget than they had in the past.
Right. So I have to be very aware of the time. I am sorry. I know that many of you have many more questions, but I think what we're going to do is, first of all, as I said, the chat log is recorded. So we're going to go through that later and try to tease out all the themes that we're seeing. And I think what I would like to do is sort of like compile them, sort of like what I did with the previous email, and send them to you and to Chief Winkler. And is there anybody else you think I should?
For-
Nunley?
yeah,
Okay, Larry,
Dr.
okay.
Nunley, I would also add someone from water wastewater on there.
Okay,
We think with Mona.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make sure you get the contact
Great.
information for her.
okay. So we will send that out so that you can just write answers back to us. And then just real quick, PPNA board elections are happening next month, February. So as I have said, PPNA is only as effective as the volunteers who step up to be of service. And I'm proud to work with some very dedicated people who are giving a lot of their time and energy to making our neighborhood the best that it can be. And so we have 3 vacancies right now. There are 2 VP positions, VP East and VP West. We also have a vacancy in the position of secretary. If you're interested in getting involved, please let me know. I am president at pattersonparkneighbors.org. If you don't want to run for the board, that is perfectly all right. We also are interested in anybody who wants to just like, maybe there's a project that you want to do, not necessarily having to do with waste management here, but anything like you want to do a mural, or you want to set up a block party, you want to set up some social events or anything like that. We're here, like I said, we can't do everything for you, but we're here to facilitate. We have some resources to help you out. We really want to talk to you. So if you want to vote on the board elections, make sure you attend next meeting. That is the second Monday of February. I don't know off the top of my head which day that is, but so And other than that, I want to thank our guests for coming and taking our questions. And as I said, make sure you type into the chat. If you have any other questions, I'll leave the recording open for a little bit longer so that we get all of your questions. All right, and if you would like some hot chocolate or tea to go out into the cold night, we've got a electric tea kettle back there and some ingredients. All right, so thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
They were talking on the channel, they were talking about passport basically in the neighborhood. Okay.
When you say.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm around the like.
Corner stores.
Yeah.
You'll submit, you know, tell them that you want to get on your bill. Send it, you got it fixed, and they'll give, you only have to pay half. Or sorry, you have to pay half the estimate. Yeah, basically, like, yeah, you can take this off. You pay half, and they give you a refund. You did the work yourself. It's funny. Oh.